When an old man entered a local restaurant, his demeanor immediately indicated that something was amiss. His sad yet captivating presence stirred curiosity, particularly when he ordered his meal two of everything, including an extra plate and a glass of white wine placed across from him, as if expecting someone. The waitress, Danny, couldn't help but speculate about his mysterious behavior and nervous disposition. Danny, the main waitress, was drawn to this peculiar elderly man the moment he stepped inside. Despite the oddity of his request, she maintained professionalism and served him with empathy. She introduced herself and took his order, a medium rare steak with side salad and potato wedges, and the additional settings for an unseen companion. As the meal was served, Danny observed the man closely. He was mostly quiet, meticulously placing the items on the table and occasionally speaking to the empty seat across him, muttering, "It will all be all right." His behavior grew increasingly intriguing when, after a few bites, he began to sob quietly. His tears turned into a torrent, leading Danny to approach and inquire if he was all right. Despite his insistence that he was fine, it was clear he was far from it. Danny decided to give him space, respecting his initial desire for solitude, yet she remained observant. His frequent glances towards the entrance suggested he was waiting for someone who never arrived, intensifying his sadness. As the diner continued to fill with customers, Charles's plight became the center of attention. Danny, compelled by a deepening concern, eventually followed him to the restroom after he rushed there in distress, leaving behind a postcard on his table with the words "You and me." Curiosity and concern led Danny to read the postcard, despite her reservations about privacy. The message hinted at profound sadness linked to the contents, which only deepened her resolve to help the old man, named Charles. Inside the restroom, Danny found Charles in a state of despair, crouched against the wall in one of the stalls, muttering about a tragedy he couldn't escape from. His words were a mix of regret and sorrow, indicating a painful anniversary he couldn't bear alone. Danny's heart broke for Charles as she carefully approached him, offering support. She helped him back to his table, encouraging him to share his story when he felt ready. Back at the diner, amidst the curious and concerned glances of other patrons, Charles finally opened up about the heart-wrenching events that haunted him. He revealed that it was the anniversary of his wife's death, a tragic accident for which he blamed himself. Years ago, a heated argument with their daughter while driving had led to a fatal crash, claiming his wife's life and estranging him from his daughter, who blamed him for the incident. The extra plate and glass were in memory of his wife, and his presence in the restaurant was a ritual he performed yearly, hoping his daughter would join him, though she never did. Charles's confession brought him to tears, and Danny listened with a heavy heart. His story was not just about loss but also about unresolved guilt and the yearning for forgiveness from his daughter, whom he had not seen since the accident. Moved by his plight, Danny decided she couldn't just stand by. She resolved to find his daughter and somehow bridge the gap that tragedy had widened. Determined to help Charles reconnect with his daughter, Danny started her quest the very next day. Using the information Charles provided, she conducted an intensive online search, eventually finding an article about the accident that mentioned his daughter's name. With this clue, she tracked down his daughter Claire's Facebook profile, which fortunately was not set to private. Claire owned a shop operated from her home, giving Danny a possible address to reach out to her. With a mixture of hope and apprehension, Danny drove to Claire's house, located on the outskirts of town. After a tense-minute waiting at the door, Claire answered, initially confused and then visibly upset when Danny mentioned her father's name. Despite Claire's initial attempt to shut the door, Danny's plea for a moment to explain her visit kept the conversation going. Inside, Danny shared the poignant scene she had witnessed at the diner, Charles's profound loneliness and guilt, the ritual of setting an extra plate each year, and his tears for a daughter he missed dearly. As Danny recounted the events, Claire's response was non-committal, and Danny left feeling uncertain about the impact of her words. However, the next day brought a surprise. While setting up the diner, Danny was startled by a tap on the window. It was Claire, who had come to the diner after reconsidering Danny's words. She agreed to meet her father, spurred by the story Danny shared. Charles arrived, bewildered but hopeful, and was stunned to find his daughter waiting. As they sat down together, the air was tense yet expectant, marking the beginning of a conversation long overdue. As Charles and Claire sat across from each other at the diner, a delicate balance of emotions filled the air. Initial awkwardness gave way as Charles, overwhelmed with emotion, and shared his deep regrets and the pain of losing his wife, Claire's mother. Claire listened, her initial anger fading as she recognized her father's genuine remorse and suffering. The conversation gradually shifted from painful memories to happier times, their shared laughter slowly healing old wounds. As they reminisced, the emotional distance between them began to close. By the meal's end, Claire reached out and took her father's hand, a gesture of forgiveness and a step towards rebuilding their relationship. Leaving the diner together, they promised to keep in touch, hoping to mend the bond shattered by past tragedies. Danny watched them depart, her heart full, knowing she had played a role in reuniting a father and daughter after years of separation. Weeks later, Danny received a friend request from Claire on Facebook. Accepting it, she was delighted to see a post of Claire and Charles together in the park, smiling. The caption, "Rebuilding Bridges, a new chapter begins," brought tears to Danny's eyes. Her efforts had not only helped mend a broken family, but had sparked hope for their future. Danny's experience with Charles and Claire reminded her of the powerful impact of empathy in action. She realized that sometimes the most profound changes come from simply caring enough to intervene in others' lives. The joy of seeing them together, healing and moving forward, was a reward far greater than she had imagined. As the days turned into weeks following the reunion at the diner, Danny often reflected on the extraordinary circumstances that had brought Charles and Claire back together. She couldn't help but feel a profound connection to their story, as if she had been a silent witness to a profound moment of human vulnerability and strength. Meanwhile, Charles and Claire cautiously navigated the renewed waters of their relationship. They shared stories of the years gone by, each tale a stitch in the fabric of their mending bond. Back at her apartment, Danny journaled about the experience, her words a testament to the power of human connection and the unexpected roles we may play in each other's lives. She realized that sometimes the most significant impact comes from the simplest acts of kindness and courage. This conclusion not only enriches the narrative with emotional layers, but also provides closure to the story of Charles, Claire, and Danny, illustrating the ongoing journey of healing and reconciliation.